With Korean, I have kind of a two-pronged goal. The first one is actually more to get the second one. The first one is just to be able to go to some social event where I know Koreans will be there and just introduce myself, ask them really basic things about themselves and understand their answers. So what I mean here is things like, say my name, ask them their name, tell them how old I am, ask them how old they are. And I thought of a couple of other things. I got really excited about this last night, and which is why I'm recording it this morning, the day after I woke up, because I wrote this stuff down. And another part of like when I come up with my goals is I envision myself in the situation, like in what situation specifically do I want to use this language, and I envision myself, there is a party/event coming up this weekend, and I know some Koreans will be there, and I was like, what do I want to say to them? What do I think they'll ask me that I want to be prepared to answer? And it was questions like that, like what's your name, how old are you? I want to be prepared to say where I'm from. Obviously they're going to be from Korea. How long have you been in Japan? Can you speak Japanese? Can you speak English? And also as a response, I can't speak much Korean. I'm an English teacher. I'm from the U.S. I want to be able to say those things. I'll try to get as many as I can. I don't expect to be chatting with them for half an hour, probably just a minute. But if I can say those things, it'll feel really, really good. And the purpose for that is because I'm looking for somebody to help me with the second one, which is, I may have mentioned before that there are a lot of tourists, particularly from other Asian countries here in Japan, and very often I see them lost. I see them looking at a map or trying to find a map or checking their cell phone or something like this, and they're not approaching other Japanese people, which tells me either A, they're shy, or B, they don't speak the local language. So I thought it'd be really, really cool to be able to approach them and be able to ask them these 5 or 6 questions, or I should say produce these 5 or 6 sentences, starting with, are you lost? Where would you like to go? Follow me, I'll take you there. And maybe things like, you're welcome, no problem, don't worry if they say thank you. And I'd like to go out and try that. And as I've mentioned before, really, really hone in on how important experience is, because I imagine with the experience, I'll realize, I wanted to say this, I wanted to ask this, they said something that sounded like this, I didn't understand it, and then I can go back and look up those sentences, look up those words, and learn more. So to me, I really like to be practical. I've found lots of resources for courses. There's apps that give you courses, and videos that have courses, and classes that have courses that teach you the basic communication, basic conversation. I don't really want that, because I don't know how much of that is actually going to be useful or interesting to me. I'd rather find somebody who can kind of customize what they're doing to what I want to learn. So I'm thinking more of like a private teacher, or like a tutor, or a language exchange partner, which is what I'm looking for this weekend. I have this in terms of Japanese. It's pretty easy to get in terms of Spanish. But another thing, people all the time, I've seen other language channels and stuff like this, all the time recommend finding native speakers, using the language immediately, and I absolutely also recommend this. For me right now, the main reason I want to find Korean is I need to check my pronunciation. If I'm just practicing by myself, the only thing I can rely on is my ear, which is not very reliable because I haven't really practiced pronouncing Korean that much. And the fear is that if I continue doing this without some feedback, that I'm going to start fossilizing, or my bad habits are going to start kind of becoming ingrained, and it'll be harder to get out of them. Whereas the sooner I get feedback, the sooner I get correction, the sooner I can adjust. Not just my pronunciation, but also maybe the meaning. That's another thing, is that I'm learning all these phrases and learning these sentences, but I don't know how they sound to a native Korean ear. I don't know if they sound overly casual you know, like something I shouldn't say to somebody I meet the first time, or they sound overly formal, maybe cold or stiff. You know, so I need feedback there. I need to produce these sentences to a Korean and have them respond in kind, respond naturally, so I can get that confidence that, oh, my pronunciation's fine, this sentence is fine, it's perfectly natural. Or get that weird look, or have them tell me, like, we don't, I used to get this a lot in Japanese, the native speaker telling me, we don't say that in Korea, we say this. And so I need that, or I want that rather, as immediately as possible. So yeah, feedback is a huge, huge thing. I also forgot to mention with Korean, I did decide to hire somebody for a trial lesson off italki. Like I said, I need some feedback, particularly if it's like one-to-one. And there's a class that's not too far from my home, and this class is actually focused on Hangul, which is the writing system. And I really, really want to get that down, so I do think this class will be suited for me. And it's also really inexpensive. It came to like $6-7 a lesson. That's for like a full-on hour. Super, super cheap. So I figured, you know, it's not going to be a great loss, even if it was a waste of time.
Plotting for the best, yeah, I'm plotting for the best. Coming straight from the dirt, I'm sprouting up a stem. Here I come, your success. Where you at? I'm